This is A Better Way Financial, the podcast with financial advisors and father-son team Frank and Frankie Guida.
And I'm Heather Branch here with Frank and Frankie asking for their insight on what to work on now to better prepare for your financial future. ABetterWayFinancial.com is where you can start the conversation about your retirement savings and investments. We also have links posted in the show notes, so you can just click there or again, find us anytime at ABetterWayFinancial.com. So we're getting pretty close to summer, but have we talked about spring cleaning patterns and behaviors in your house or your office? Are you guys into any of that at all, or your wives on any level?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Dad's a few years overdue on the spring cleaning.
Uh-oh. Confessions of the Guidas.
Well, I tend to have a lot of things from family left, at my house.
I know. It's so hard to get rid of the sentimental thing. But wait a minute. No, I think we maybe did talk about, do you still have the Christmas tree up? Is that still up?
No.
You did finally take it down?
I think
nice.
last week.
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago.
Just a couple weeks ago, just in time for Easter, right?
Yes.
There was these articles, these lists that come out, and honestly, I try to avoid them because I am a little bit OCD about cleanliness. And they were talking about this list, the germiest places in the office, and it says the contamination is often worse at your very own desk and computer keyboard. Think about where you spend the most time. It's also prevalent on door handles. The shared microwave and fridge are apparently just disgusting. You'll never want to touch an elevator button again. Vending machine, basically anything with buttons or handles is danger zone for germaphobes.
Yeah.
And then before we came on the radio today, we were is there a mice situation happening in somebody's house?
Well, it's a funny thing. At the end of the day,
I had a dinner workshop last week.
Yeah.
And Frankie goes to me, "Yeah, I got to get home. I said, "Why? What's the matter?" Tell him what's the matter, Frankie.
I said, well, Jade's waiting outside in the car, and she's not going to go in the house because we have mice in the house, and she's just not going to go in until I go in first to make sure that there's no mice around and I can protect her.
I respect it. Respect it.
So I ate pretty quickly that night and headed on back home so I could take care of it.
Well, it's like when I just got married, my wife and I were living in a basement apartment. We're just starting out.
Yeah.
I'm 20, she's 18.
Yeah.
And we had these water bugs that were like 3 inches long.
Water bugs, first of all, is a nice way to say cockroach. Don't say water bugs to me.
They didn't look like a cockroach. They were much bigger than
They were a winged bird.
Well, and that was the thing. She calls me at work one day, and she goes, "I'm leaving, and I'm going to your mother's." I said, "What's up? What's up?" She goes, "They fly. They fly."
Yep.
I'm sure there might have been a few explicatives in there, too.
Yep. Nobody would blame her for that. Not even a little bit. I think that probably most young married couples have some stories about their first home, a la Frank and Frankie, and your situations between the water bugs, quote unquote, and the mice. Hopefully, I'm grateful and glad to say that at the office, at a Better Way Financial office, there is a much more cleanly and friendly environment, cookies and things of that nature. Await us there.
Nice clean place here.
Jade would hang out here all day.
Yep, that's right. That's how we like it.
And at night until Frankie comes home.
That's right. That safe space. A safe space for all of us. But what you do like to do at the office is work to clean and scrub out the financial accounts that come your way and digging in to discover the germiness, quote unquote, that's hiding in the accounts of people that come to visit you there. For example, things like fees that are lurking in our portfolios. Is that not correct?
Well, exactly. I mean, fees are like bacteria and bugs and stuff.
Yes, they are.
They hide, It's like you have to search them out, So what folks have to do is they have to give us their statements and that, so that we can take a look at them. And, a lot of them are not even on the statements, They're in the prospectuses, which nobody ever reads.
Right.
But fortunately, we have software that we can actually put in the ticker symbols and it comes back and it tells us what the fees are.
Got it.
So we can actually do that dissection. And I'll tell you what, the fees that we find in these things are unbelievable. They're really, really high. But the worst culprit is the annuities. Those especially those variable annuities.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, like oftentimes when we have a person come in and we talk about what is their situation and what are your current fees looking like, they're like, I probably pay somewhere around 1%. And then we're like, okay, well, let's investigate it. Let's make sure that you're paying what you think you're paying in fees. And we call, if they have one of these variable annuities, we call the insurance company and ask them specifically, what are the fees that they're paying? And then they say, oh, well, the sub-account fees are about 1%. It's like, oh, okay, well, what are the M&E fees? Oh, well, that's also about 1%. Okay, well, what is the income rider fee? Oh, well, that's another 1%. Jeez. Is there a death benefit rider? Oh, that's another 1%. So you think you're paying only 1% because when you call, they say, well, the sub-account fee is 1%.
Yeah, times it's like
but you
4.
don't know the questions to ask necessarily to figure out what are the rest of the fees that you could be paying.
Wow.
So we just had a couple come in who wanted to know. They're like, I think we're paying too much in fees, but we just don't know it. And he was 70 years old. He was a retired fire marshal, and she was 62, and she was a nurse who
was ready to retire,
to retire, but looking to retire soon. She had been in a nurse for 40 plus years. So that's awesome. My wife's a nurse. I asked her, do you have any advice for some young nurses?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, just stay away from the drama. Just keep on doing your work and stay away from the drama.
Good tip, yeah.
But she came in, they were looking to reduce some of their portfolio risk, but really were concerned about the fees, So we looked into the fee section and we said, here's where you're paying in fees. And they're paying over $24,000 more in fees where they're currently at than where they're going to be paying in fees with us.
Annually? $24,000 a year?
And every year.
Wow.
That's $2,000 every month. $24,000. What could you do with an extra $24,000 in your retirement years every year?
And they were wondering why their investments weren't going up. It's because they're eating half of their investment is these fees. They keep on taking more and more from them, and it's just not doing well for them.
Wow.
They said, well, I met with this guy, from my church. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
So I said that's great and all, and there's a lot of nice guys in this field, but you want to work with somebody who's not charging you that kind of money in fees, who's not putting you in these investment products.
Right. That
you're going to be paying 3% in fees, and that's what they were paying, was over 3% in fees for their portfolio. Jeez. Each and every year, that really adds up and that really eats into their return. So we were able to show them, hey, let's reduce some of that fee. And because we're reducing that fee, now you're able to make more of that money instead of some advisor or some investment company making all that money.
Right.
And it's going to improve your rate of return over time is what it had projected over the past several years. So currently they were looking at getting about 4.5% in returns.
Okay.
Because half of it was going to fees.
Right.
And with our recommendations, we were looking at about 7.5% rate of return after fees. So huge difference for them, saving them almost $25,000 in fees each and every year. That's over $600,000 over the course of the rest of their lifetime, and over the next 20 to 30 years.
Yeah.
It's going to make a huge difference in their retirement. So if you're looking at your investment statements and you're like, well, I think I'm paying 1% in fees, or I don't know, I don't think I pay any fees. Well, maybe it would be a good idea to get a fee analysis done to make sure you know what you're paying in fees and maybe see some options available for you that you could potentially lower your fees. So we didn't just look at the fees. We didn't just look at the investment returns.
Yeah, but what about their, look at their portfolio.
Right.
I mean, you would think that if you're going to pay that kind of money in fees, this would have some kind of outstanding return portfolio, right?
Hopefully.
Well, when we looked at their portfolio, it was a high-risk portfolio. We ranked 6.7. That's high risk. But you know what the average return was since 2000 on this portfolio?
Tell me.
4.63% after fees.
Wow.
That doesn't knock your socks off,
No.
And when we showed them how to rearrange that portfolio, not only did we cut out over $24,000 in fees, but we got them to a point where they would have averaged in the same time span almost 7.5%. So we've greatly reduced the risk of the portfolio. Their drawdown, if we had another 2008 situation, they would have lost 40% of their portfolio. Their portfolio would have went from $942,000 to $564,000.
Wow.
by putting it into a lower risk portfolio, we dropped that maximum drawdown to 11.9%, meaning that they, instead of going down to 564,000, you had a situation where the market went down by 50%. Yeah. Their portfolio go down to 830,000.
Yeah.
Much more palatable.
Much more tolerable, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So protecting their hard-earned savings, setting their portfolio up right where they're paying a less amount in fees, and setting them up so that they're having the right income plan designed for them, having the right tax plan designed for them, showing them how to get the income that they need over the course of retirement, showing them which accounts it makes sense to do tax-wise, and doing the tax planning for them. It saved them hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. And by doing all of this financial planning, we were able to show them how instead of living on the $75,000 of income that they're living on right now, they could live on $30,000 more of after-tax income going up for inflation each year for the rest of their lives. $30,000. That's the $24,000 from the fees and then some. Right? Because we're setting this up the right way for them. They're paying less in fees. They're having their portfolio work harder for them instead of having it the other way around.
When you talk about differences like this, the thing I always think about is imagine during your working years, your boss comes to you and says, you're getting a $30,000 raise this year, and how your life would change. That's essentially what's happening in this situation.
Yeah, that's such a huge increase. I mean, for her, that's like a 40% increase in pay. That's a huge win.
There's so much you can
do. And you don't even have to work for it.
Right. You're just rearranging the money that you've already saved. You're making the money work hard for you instead of the other way around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like another $30,000 pension coming in your retirement that you'd had no idea you had. So that's the type of difference this planning can make for you. Is you can now have more income. In this specific person's situation, we're looking at $30,000 more of income. So if you don't know how much income you could be living on for the next 20 to 30 years of your life, you really want to find that out. Have a financial plan drawn up for you, showing you how much income you could live on. In this person's situation, we were able to show them how to live on $30,000 more of income each and every year for the rest of their lives by doing the proper planning, by putting the pencil to the paper and doing the financial planning. So if you want to learn how to have this financial plan drawn up, you want to learn how much income you can get for the rest of your lifetime, go to abetterwayfinancial.com and click on the sign up now button so we can begin to have this conversation with you.
Thanks for listening to A Better Way Financial, the podcast with Frank and Frankie Guida. To learn more, visit abetterwayfinancial.com and join the Guidas for the radio show, A Better Way Financial, Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 12:30 on News Radio 790 WAEB.
By contacting us, we'll review aspects of your retirement portfolio to include suggestions about how best to utilize estate, tax, and retirement planning strategies and other financial services, or if changing management styles is appropriate for your specific needs and objectives. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendations to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. A Better Way Financial is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Any client experiences discussed during this show are unique to that client, and they are not meant to imply or suggest you will experience the same results. Advisory services offered through A Better Way Financial. Insurance offered through licensed professionals at A Better Way Financial. Pennsylvania Insurance License number 301779.